In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
Well, I'm gonna have to get stopped.
This is Deobra Redden, in court today facing sentencing for attempted battery. 30-year-old Redden, who, as per reports, had a history of criminal offenses, pleaded guilty to punching and breaking a man's jaw.
3 felonies, a gross, 9 misdemeanors, multiple DVs. Got a lot going on, sir.
Yeah, I just figured like...
Battery on a protected person, robberies, attempt home invasion.
Redden had a calm and matter-of-fact exchange with Clark County District Judge Mary K. Holthus.
Mr. Redden, is there anything you want to say on your own behalf before I pronounce sentence?
So basically, I would like to tell the courts, everyone here, like, based on my criminal history, like, I feel that, like, I shouldn't be, like, sent to prison for a second time.
Have you looked at your criminal history? Have you looked at your criminal history?
I've actually just, I looked at it.
I mean, you lived it, I suppose.
I just looked at it,
Yeah.
Redden blamed his mental health as the reason for his violent crimes.
The reason behind every single domestic violence, I've been dealing with mental health, and I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health. And they put me in mental health court, and I still didn't know that I had a mental health problem until it was August 2022 when I realized I have a problem with this.
He also told Judge Holthus that he was a changed man.
I just figured like I'm in a better place in my mind, my mental health. I have a support system. I just got hired as a teamster for the union, making $20 an hour. If I'm in a better place in my life, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not out there committing crimes now, and I feel like I should be given a shot because I'm in a better place than I was.
Redden's attorney asked for probation instead of a prison sentence, but Judge Holthus had other thoughts.
I trust that he is going to perform well on probation. I think he's worth this risk. The court wants to be 1948 as suggested by the DA. I would have no issue with that, but to suspend it rather than just send him to prison for any length of time. I think it makes more sense given the circumstances and his ability to do probation successfully that he given this opportunity.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else.
As she started to read out the sentence, Redden snapped.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
A brawl ensued, and several punches were thrown. Judge Holthus fell back from her seat against a wall and suffered some injuries, but did not require hospitalization. A courtroom marshal, however, was hospitalized with multiple injuries. Just days after the attack, a heavily shackled Redden wearing a spit mask went face-to-face with Judge Holthus.
Good morning. All right, this is on for the continuation of Mr. Redden's sentencing. When we were last here, arguments were concluded and the court had begun to pronounce sentence when an incident occurred.
The judge did not modify or change the sentence she gave prior to being attacked.
For purposes of the record, I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions.
Redden was sentenced to 19 to 48 months in prison for his previous offenses.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence you in addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, $150 DNA fee, the $3 DNA administrative assessment fee, and $250 indigent defense fee, 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections.
Redden's family members later said that he suffered from several mental illnesses since birth.
Well, he's basically born with mental illness. He was born with crack cocaine in his system, so his chance in life was taken at birth.
Redden faces multiple felony charges for the assault on Judge Holthus. If convicted, he could face decades in prison.
You're being charged with count 1, attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 2, battery on a protected person resulting in substantial bodily harm, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 3, extortion by threat, a felony. Count 4, intimidating a public officer, a felony. Count 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all battery on an officer, the same name victim. Oh, and by the way, I do not know any of the other victims named in the criminal complaint. Those are all felony offenses. Count 10, performance of act or neglect of duty and willful or wanton disregard of safety or persons of property resulting in substantial bodily harm or death, a felony. Battery on a protected person, count 11, that's a gross misdemeanor offense. Count 12, battery by a prisoner, a felony. Count 13, unlawful act related to human excrement or bodily fluid, a felony.
Redden's attempt at attacking a judge is shocking, but how does it compare to a brother asking the judge to send his own sister to jail? Like in the case of Denise Robertson, a burglary and theft suspect in Mount Clemens, Michigan.
She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives. Just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
Robertson, age 39, had a long history of habitual offenses, with 4 prior felonies on the record.
Okay, and how long is this going on?
For the last 5 years.
So, at any point in this 5 years, did you wake up and say, hey, I got a problem, and
Yes,
I think I
last
better
year.
do something?
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car and put back on picking pills. And here I am today.
Robertson faced 6 counts of uttering and publishing for manufacturing and cashing fraudulent checks. It's hard to imagine how many people Denise had stolen from up to this point, but what's not hard to imagine are how many victims could have prevented it if they had used today's video sponsor, Exter Smart Wallets. Exter's wallets are designed for efficiency and security, perfect for keeping your cards and cash safe from thieves like Denise. Their wallets are super slim, yet they carry over 12 cards and cash. Accessing your cards is a breeze with Exter's Quick Card Access feature, allowing you to retrieve your cards with just the click of a button thanks to its signature trigger mechanism. Plus, with built-in RFID protection, you're safeguarded against data theft and wireless skimming. And if you ever misplace your wallet, Exter's solar-powered trackers have your back by allowing you to pinpoint your wallet's location from your smartphone. Thanks to Exter's anniversary sale, you'll get up to 35% off when you use our code CC upon checkout. Click the top link in the description and don't miss out on this opportunity to upgrade your wallet game and protect yourself from criminals like Denise with Exter. With a possible sentence of life in prison, she opted for a plea deal to reduce the maximum sentence.
My client is asking for a referral for a drug court.
The County Drug Court is a prison diversion program established to help nonviolent drug offenders. Veteran Judge Mary Chernowski, also known as Scary Mary, questioned the role of drugs in a check fraud case.
Look, her problem is she needs to take and learn how to write a check with a checking account that has her funds in it. How's drug court interplay with all this?
The defendant said that drugs were the root cause of Robertson's problems. Robertson admitted to being uncertain about her reasons for using drugs, but managed to live a stable life whilst not under the influence.
The drugs were the root of her problems, Your Honor.
Why do you want to go to drug court? Other than trying to stay away from going to prison.
Because when I don't do drugs, I live okay.
So why do you do drugs?
I don't know.
Robertson also said that a car accident put her back on painkillers, which worsened her drug problem.
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car and put back on picking pills. And here I am today.
Judge Mary argued that drug court was just an excuse to stay out of prison, which was echoed by a voice in the gallery.
Now all of a sudden, you're looking at going to prison and you want to go to drug court. Now, is this an excuse to stay out of prison?
Yes. No.
Well, somebody out there said yes. Who's that?
It was Denise's brother, and what he did next shocked everyone.
What's going on?
I believe she needs to get the book thrown at her. Somehow she keeps escaping on this drug stuff all the time. The drugs are causing her to do this. She had an opportunity. She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
He said that Denise had been to drug programs before, but none ever helped.
So do you think this drug court program's going to help her?
She's been through so many drug programs, it's pathetic. She's been in and out of rehab, left and right, and nothing ever helps.
After a short deliberation, Judge Mary refused the plea deal.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to refer her to the drug court, not with the extensive record that she has, and certainly not with 8 new convictions on her record.
Denise Robertson was sentenced to a minimum of a year and 11 months and a maximum of 14 years in prison for the 6 felony charges. Later in an interview, Judge Mary Tranowski mentioned it's common for defendants' family members to request harsher sentences frequently.
I would have parents in the background asking me, please, get them in, keep them in. We are afraid to let them out in society because they're going to hurt someone else. That was a daily event for me.
She said that Denise Robertson, already losing custody of her 4 kids, played a big role in her judgment of the case.
It was very important to me because it showed to me that she was a very selfish individual who cared more about her addiction than she did about her children. She didn't want us to help her be a good mother, which is extremely selfish in my opinion, and it had a very big impact on how she was sentenced.
Denise Robertson's own brother asking her to be sentenced is a viral courtroom moment. But how does it compare to being attacked by a victim's dad in court? Like in the case of Larry Nassar, a convicted sex offender in Michigan.
Sir, I can't.
Would you give me 1 minute?
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system works.
As per reports, Larry Nassar, a former sports medicine physician, abused hundreds of young athletes under the guise of medical treatment.
And when I was 14 years old, I tore my hamstring in my right leg. This was when he started performing the procedure that we are all now familiar with.
Larry decided that it was medically acceptable to violate a 16-year-old girl.
He was the team doctor of the United States women's national gymnastics team for 18 years. Nassar manipulated athletes into believing that he was their trusted friend and advisor.
You have to protect your athletes. You have to let them know that we care. You have to not let them know, but let them feel it. Let them understand it. Let them breathe it.
He put my picture up on his wall with the Olympians. I thought I mattered to Larry.
You had me so wrapped around your finger, and I still trusted you so much.
Nassar initially argued that his actions were part of an understood medical procedure. He then blamed his young victims, saying they should have said something sooner.
If you don't have patient confidence and patient trust, you would have been having my in here how many times? Right. Okay, especially when I'm doing this on 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, okay, with their parents there. But I'm obviously doing a doggone good job explaining things, okay, because what? I don't get it. Why didn't she say something if she was feeling violated in any way, shape, and form? There was no communication. Okay.
Nassar's abuse spanned over 2 decades, from 1992 to 2016. He was first reported to MSU officials in 1997, but they failed to act or inform the police. He was also reported to USAG in 2015, but they did not alert authorities until after the 2016 Olympics. In court, a victim addressed the president of the MSU.
To Luanna Simon, I don't even know how you are still in the position that you are in. I don't know how you can still call yourself a president because I don't anymore. You are trying to manipulate people into thinking that you are innocent when you are not. As far as I'm concerned, you are just as bad as this monster that has attempted to ruin all of us, but he hasn't and you won't either. Larry, I hope you, Luanna Simon, Kathy Klages, and all of the USAG are scared because you have pissed off the wrong army of women.
Nassar faced more than 250 accusers in court who gave powerful and emotional testimonies.
Larry Nassar wedged himself between myself and my family and used his leverage as my parents' trusted friend to pry us apart. My father and I did our best to patch up our tattered relationship before he committed in 2016.
The mother of a victim told a heart-wrenching story of how Nassar destroyed her daughter's life.
We got in the car and she started bawling. And I said, Chelsea, tell me what's wrong. And she said, Mom, he put his fingers in me and they weren't gloved. And I said, Chelsea, I was right there in the room. And she goes, you couldn't see what was going on, Mom. And she said, he hurt me. I had her see a psychiatrist and it didn't seem to be helping. There was a lot of self-blame. She got into drugs and she never really recovered. In 2009, she took her own life because she couldn't deal with the pain anymore.
Nassar's victims even included some Olympians who addressed the disgraced doctor in court. One of them was Jamie Dancher, who won bronze in the 2000 Summer Olympics.
His so-called treatments included, but were not limited to, breast exams,
stretching me while he would lay on top of me with his on my crotch, massaging me in very intimate places, and even placing his ungloved hand into my and
Nassar initially pled guilty. However, a letter was later discovered in which he denied responsibility for his actions and instead portrayed himself as the victim.
I was a good doctor because my treatments worked, and those patients that are now speaking out were the same ones that praised and came back over and over and referred family and friends to see me. They feel I broke their trust. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. It is just a complete nightmare. The stories that are being fabricated to sensationalize this.
However, nobody could have imagined what was to follow when the father of a victim addressed the court.
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
When denied, he decided to take matters into his own hands.
You know that I can't do that. That's not how our legal system
Well, I'm gonna have to get
The grieving father was arrested and taken away by court officers. During his sentencing, the judge tore into Nassar.
This letter, which comes 2 months after your plea, tells me that you have not yet owned what you did. I wouldn't send my dogs to you, sir.
Larry Nassar was sentenced to 175 years in prison.
Sir, I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I just signed your death warrant. I find that you don't get it, that you're a danger. You remain a danger.
While Nassar will spend the rest of his life in prison for his heinous crimes, how does it compare to jumping out of a wheelchair and escaping? Like the case of Joel Delgado, who was being wheelchaired to court today in Little Rock, Arkansas. Delgado was in jail facing burglary and possession of a firearm charge. According to reports, he told police that he wasn't feeling well and couldn't feel his legs. While being transported to the courtroom, Delgado distracted the officer by saying that he lost his shoe.
What'd you say, OJ? My shoe. Hey, you see a shoe back there?
What happened next was totally unexpected.
Where is it?
The officer ran after Delgado, but he was nowhere to be found.
Oh, I'm gonna catch you, baby. I'm finna shoot your bitch.
Already without a radio, the officer found a hard time calling for backup.
And I tried to get him.
Hello? Hey, Hook. The wheelchair dude got up and ran. Yeah. I couldn't catch this. And my radio was in the mother. I had my camera on, though. I couldn't catch that dude. He jumped the rail. It's on my camera, bro. Oh, what's that, man?
And while authorities saw the lighter side of things, Delgado was gone for a good few hours. He was later caught from the other side of town and charged with felony escape, and was once again put in a wheelchair. Delgado's daring escape is one of the most ridiculous courtroom moments, but how does it compare to becoming a viral meme? Like in the case of Tony Farmer, a top 100 ESPN recruit and potential NBA prospect, who was charged with aggravated assault in Ohio. According to reports, Farmer was accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Andrea Lane. A surveillance video from 18-year-old Lane's apartment showed Farmer attacking her. When Lane tried to get back to her apartment, Tony assaulted her again. Farmer pleaded guilty to all charges. His supporters asked for a lenient sentence so that he could pursue his basketball career. Even the victim testified in Farmer's favor and requested the judge not to send him to prison.
I don't know what was wrong with him that day. I know he was a good person. I hope he still is. I hope he learns from this. He really needs help.
However, the judge was not swayed by her request.
There's nothing in the sentencing guideline that talks about him being a basketball star and being able to go forward when obviously I think she's been very traumatized by this.
She also concluded that Farmer was not remorseful after his initial arrest, as he later tried to threaten the victim.
He certainly threatened her or said that he should have done something more to her, and so that, in addition to what I saw on the tape, was very telling to me, and it was a violation of the no contact order that was put in place to protect her.
Now, what happened next shocked everyone.
It is ordered that the defendant shall serve a term of 2 years in prison on that count. As to count 3 of that case, the robbery, which is also a felony of the 2nd degree, the court orders that the defendant shall serve a term of 2 years on that count as well. I haven't finished yet. I haven't finished.
As family members wept in the background, Farmer's reaction became a viral meme on social media. Still in shock, Farmer was helped to his feet as the judge completed her sentence.
On the sole count of the indictment in case 564206, the felony of the 3rd degree, the court orders that the defendant shall serve a term of 9 months in prison on that count. All of these terms are going to be served concurrently, which means that the defendant is, in effect, going to spend 3 years in prison.
While Tony Farmer was sent to prison for 3 years for his poor choices and violent behavior, what happens when the judge condemns you to die? Like in the case of Camilla Gamet, who was convicted of murdering her boyfriend in 2013.
You gutted him like a fish in that apartment, too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead.
As per reports, Gamet stabbed Marcel Hill multiple times with a kitchen knife. She also hit him with a pan.
You end up probably in some kind of domestic. Ultimately hit him in the head so hard with a pan that you actually caved in the front of his skull. And then you stabbed him no less than 12 times.
In court, Gamet showed no signs of remorse and maintained her innocence.
Is there anything that you want to tell the court before I impose sentence? Is there anything you want to tell the victim's family who are here today?
I just want to say that I stick by the truth, which is that I did react in self-defense. I did love Marcel, and basically at trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies, and I do plan to appeal it. And that's all I have to say.
Hill's aunt appeared to address both Gamet and the court.
You did leave a big hole in our hearts and a void that will never be filled. You took the life of our sister's only child. You took a bloodline out of our family. And we hope that each and every day that you remember the cries of help that he screamed as you plunged that knife in and out of his body.
However, Gamet seemed unaffected by anything she said.
So we, the family of Marcel, would like to thank God for the special gift that you will receive today from the judge.
Is that it?
When I finish, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Serious?
The judge was having none of it and warned the use of duct tape on Gamet if she interrupted again.
You talk again, I'll have my court officer put a piece of duct tape in your mouth. You understand it? Try it one more time and see what happens to your mouth. You got something else to say?
Even with the threat of duct tape, Gamet didn't stop.
I'm done.
Miss Sonia, get the duct tape.
I'll sit here and listen to the lies.
You know what? She's got a right to talk to the court after you murdered a relative of hers. And you're going to shut your mouth or I'm going to have some duct tape put on it.
Well, he attacked me.
All right. We'll wait here for a moment till we can get her quiet.
Afterwards, the prosecutor ripped into Gamet, who sat with a smug look on her face.
We have no choice but to send her where she will also die. I can't believe she stands before you doing this morning.
But before it was all over, it was the judge who had the last word.
You gutted him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, and if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair.
Gamet was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Camilla Gamet was sent to prison for the rest of her life for cold-blooded murder. But how does it compare to throwing your feces and urine in court? Like in the case of Ricky Hand, who was being sentenced for multiple charges of robbery in Ohio.
You just gave it 4 years. Well, guess what? Sir,
Ricky's attempt to rob John's drive-thru failed as the owner was armed and fired shots at him, hitting him in the arm. The owner then called 911.
Yeah, this is John's drive-thru, West Main Street. A guy just tried to rob me and I shot him. He ran out the back door.
Ricky was arrested from a nearby hospital, and during interrogation, he confessed to a series of robberies.
Now you're looking at John's, you're looking at this break-in to this beauty salon.
That's all I've done.
The beauty salon's a bonus because I didn't even know anything about that, and you told me that.
I'm going to prison for a long time.
Well, you know that.
When the case took to the courtroom, Ricky was found guilty of multiple armed robberies and sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Did you just give me 40 years? Sir? Yes.
Ricky was clearly expecting a lesser sentence, and what he did next shocked the entire courtroom.
You just gave me 40 years. Well, guess what? Sir, what's this?
Ricky had hidden pill bottles filled with feces and urine in his arm sling. He then proceeded to fling them at his lawyer before being detained by court officers. Due to his antics, Ricky faced additional charges of harassment with bodily fluids, obstructing justice, and retaliation. Investigators were stumped with the breach and wondered how Ricky got past security with the fluids.
Our policy dictates that there's a search prior to and a search after he leaves, and that was very apparently not done.
Ricky's disgusting actions certainly proved to be a shocking courtroom moment. But what happens when you justify killing your cellmate? Like in the case of Steven Sanderson, who's facing murder charges for killing his cellmate.
You know, my bunkie was talking about his crime, what he was in prison for, children. I didn't appreciate it, so I killed him.
According to reports, Sanderson, who was already serving life without parole in a Michigan prison, strangled and killed Ted Dyer in their cell.
I first, punched him a couple times. Still wouldn't shut up. Still kept telling me he wanted to explain that he didn't do it, that he was being set up and all this stuff, and I don't know, I just got mad and then hit him and then I killed him. When I hit him and knocked him out, and then I took the shoelaces out of his shoes, tied them together, wrapped it around his neck, and strangled him.
In court, Sanderson pleaded guilty.
How do you wish to plead to the second count of murder in the second degree? Guilty?
Yes, sir.
He justified taking the life of his cellmate, giving a specific reason.
The reason I killed him was because he was a child. All right, well, he was my bunkie, and I had found out that he was in prison for child. Really bad case. So that night he was trying to justify why he did it, and I just told him to be quiet and he would have to leave in the morning to find a new cell, but he continued to talk about it and try to justify it. So he was a little bit bigger than me, so I got down and I hit him in his face a few times, and when he fell I wrapped a cord around his neck and I took his life.
As a formality to the guilty plea, Sanderson's lawyers confirmed the basics.
You did in fact kill him? Oh, sure. And you intended to kill him? Oh, sure, yes.
During his sentencing hearing, Sanderson addressed the public response he received following the murder.
Since this all happened, it's kind of been, people think I'm some kind of hero, well, I'm actually not. I just, did what I thought was best.
He went on to say that Dyer's real judgment was yet to come.
I don't know, I've been getting these emails saying that, it's not my position to judge anybody, and I want to make it quite clere that I didn't judge him. I know God is the only judge we have. I've just set the appointment up.
Sanderson received another life sentence with the possibility of parole. He said he had no remorse for what he did, and he would do it again if he had the chance.
I don't feel bad for what I did, I feel bad for maybe his family or something. But as far as remorse towards him, no.
While Sanderson serves 2 life sentences in jail, what happens when you murder a child? Like in the case of Elise Ortiz Nieves, who was charged with the abuse and murder of 4-year-old Giovanni Mejias.
So the first count is called felony murder, life without parole. They're alleging you murdered one Giovanni Mejias. It is called felony murder. It is a felony.
As per reports, Ortiz called 911 and tried to pass Giovanni's death as an accident, but autopsy reports proved otherwise.
But the degree and the location and the number of injuries was remarkable. In my opinion, this injury is inflicted with blunt force from an adult individual.
In court, Giovanni's family members addressed Ortiz.
Yesterday was the hardest day, and instead of us celebrating, we took balloons to his grave site. And because what Nelson decided to do to my baby will never bring him back. I'll never see him grow up, fall in love, go to school.
But Ortiz maintained his innocence.
I'm going to continue to say I will take a lie detector test to prove that I never abused any of Sonia's kids or never abused Giovanni and never intentionally meant to hurt Giovanni but to help him.
Even Giovanni's mom, Sonia Hernandez, testified in Ortiz's defense. She said her older son would often bully Giovanni.
Him, sock him, push him. He was just mean to him.
Did you ever witness Nelson physically discipline the kids?
Never.
But the judge was having none of it.
You can claim your innocence, but I sat over this trial and I carefully listened to all the testimony, and the jury verdict was clearly correct in this matter. There is no question whatsoever that you committed this murder and that you beat this little boy to death.
As Ortiz was about to be sentenced, a scuffle broke out.
You had put cigarettes out on this poor little child. There was evidence of that from the picture.
I ain't gonna let you, I ain't gonna let you sit here and say no crazy shit about me, man. No, man, because he's saying you don't even know, man.
Sir, anybody says anything back there about
Ortiz was removed from the courtroom and later brought back to finish the sentencing. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
This is one of the most disgusting trials that I ever had to sit through. You are the lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe or see. You are a monster, and quite frankly, you are evil. What you did was sickening and disgusting. We're done. Take him to prison, please.
It was later found that both Sonia and the authorities had prior knowledge about Giovanni's abuse.
Sonia was well aware. She was well aware of what was happening because she told him that was his responsibility to whoop them. I've called the cops, have been involved, CPS multiple times have been involved, the school was involved.
6 months later, Sonia was arrested. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 57 months to 10 years in prison.
My first charge is perjury. I lied under oath for a man who I thought loved and cared for me. My second is failure to protect my children and blaming a sibling on a sibling. I have to live with the fact that I failed my children. Your Honor, what you decide to give me is nothing compared to what I have been through. I wanted to apologize to my family, my children, my lawyer, and the courts. Thank you, Your Honor.
While Ortiz will spend the rest of his life in prison for murdering a child, what happens when a murder-for-hire plot goes wrong? Like in the case of Diana Lovejoy, a YouTuber who conspired to murder her ex-husband in 2016.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
As per reports, Lovejoy hired a firearms instructor, Weldon McDavid Jr., to assassinate her ex-husband, Greg Mulvihill. McDavid lured Mulvihill to a secluded area in Carlsbad, California.
After the second time of shining the light on it and staring at it for a second, I realized I was looking at a barrel and a scope of a gun.
Mulvihill was shot in the torso. His friend called 911.
Hello, this is 911.
Yes. My friend has just been shot.
Do you know who shot him?
There's a guy lying down like a sniper.
A sniper? Did you see him at all?
Briefly, we saw the gun, and he shot at us like 6 or 7 times. My friend's getting lightheaded.
That's okay. I got paramedics en route, okay? Hold on, officers en route. I got help out to you, okay?
Mulvihill survived, and police learned that the burner phone used to lure Mulvihill was purchased by Lovejoy. She also paid $2,000 to the assassin. Lovejoy was arrested and found guilty by the jury.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty.
As the judge read out her verdict, a loud thud was heard throughout the court. It was Lovejoy's head hitting the table.
We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
All right, we're going to need to take a break. You're done. And if we could have, the jury go back into the
Paramedics said Lovejoy collapsed out of shock. She was sent to the hospital. A few months later, Lovejoy made an emotional plea to the judge at her sentencing hearing.
It's so painful that some people in this world seem to think that I would have it in me to do this.
Diana Lovejoy was sentenced to 26 years to life in prison. While Lovejoy collapsed in court after learning about her fate, how does it compare to being attacked by a victim's mother in court? Like in the case of Bryce Rhodes.
Your job is to do your job, not to worry about me. That's what I'm saying. Well, I worry about me.
A triple murder suspect in Louisville, Kentucky. On May 4th, 2016, Rhodes shot and killed 40-year-old Christopher Jones on the 800 block of South 41st Street. 2 weeks later, Rhodes and 2 teenage accomplices, Anjuan Carter and Ja'Cory Taylor, beat, tortured, and stabbed 2 brothers to death. The bodies of 14-year-old Larry Ordway and 16-year-old Maurice Gordon were found in an abandoned lot on River Park Drive by a woman who called 911.
It looks like they're deceased and they've been burned.
Those are kids. Those are kids. No, they're kids. And it hasn't been that long. Because there's some shoe prints right here, too. There's some good shoe prints, too.
Rhodes and his accomplices were arrested on May 24th after 15-year-old Carter confessed to the police. He said that he and 18-year-old Ja'Cory Taylor were in Bryce's apartment when the murder took place.
He made Maurice on his knees and beg for forgiveness.
Carter told the police that he saw Bryce Rhodes tie up the 2 brothers.
He tied him up. Tied him up or something. He tied his brother up. He made his brother sit in the bathroom.
He also said that Rhodes put a stocking over Maurice's head, gagged him, and stabbed him in the chest.
He put a toboggan over his head, and he put a rag in his mouth, and then he stabbed him.
Carter described a similar scene for Maurice's brother.
We moved Maurice to the side, and we brought his brother, and we put the toboggan over his head. He put the toboggan over his head and put the sock in his mouth. And started stabbing him too.
He said that the brothers had witnessed Rhodes, also known as Rambo, kill a man earlier that month, a possible reason as to why they were killed.
They seen somebody just walking on the street, and they said Rambo's like at the street, and shot him. And Maurice, he was a getaway driver, so he was driving.
Rambo was arrested and produced in court. This is when things got crazy.
You can just bring him up right here.
Why have me come out like this for?
I think you know why.
What?
You know exactly why. Now, listen, stop talking. Have been...
God.
Are you done?
No, I'm done.
You've been charged in the 4th degree. I'm going to keep talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you think where you live at? What you think at? None of that. I ain't do.
So you're saying you're going to find out where I'm out?
None of that. You got something, I'll be out.
Okay.
In another hearing, Rhodes smiled and made gestures at the mother of the victims, Marie Wren.
But then another part of it is, if we have a concern,
stop it. Look at me, ma'am!
Wren lunged at Rhodes during the hearing and had to be dragged away from court by security.
It was a violent, split-second decision.
I flipped out. I couldn't take it no more.
Marie Wren lunged toward the man accused of stabbing her sons to death and burning their bodies.
The victim's grandmother, Jackie Partee, was outraged by Bryce's behavior in court.
My first thought was to really just to go after him from the way he's been doing things.
The jury found Rhodes guilty and recommended life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case is still ongoing. Rhodes's continuous outbursts were truly a shocking courtroom moment. But how does it compare to sprinting your way to escape? Like in the case of Nicholas Garrison, who was in Highland County Court in Greenfield, Ohio, for suspected drug charges. 34-year-old Garrison was being taken into custody by deputies when suddenly he made a run for it. Let's take a look from another angle. As he was being arrested, the deputies momentarily turned their backs to Garrison. This is when things got crazy. Three deputies chased Garrison, and one of them leapt over the railing to catch him as he escaped down the stairs. The officer who made the dive was badly injured. Garrison fled the courtroom and escaped. He was captured 4 days later. Garrison got 6 more years in jail in addition to his drug charges. While Nicholas Garrison's daring escape was a viral courtroom moment, how does it compare to a judge letting you choose your own sentence? Like in the case of Christopher McNabb, a suspect in the murder of his own daughter in Georgia.
But I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid, man.
As per reports, 15-day-old Kalia McNabb was reported missing by her mother, Courtney Bell, who called 911.
Eaton County 911, what's the emergency? I just woke up. My dog woke me up on the couch. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 2-week-old. And my 2-week-old is not in her sleeper. Her passie's on the floor. She's not in her sleeper? She's not in her sleeper. She's not here. I've looked everywhere. I've looked under clothes and everything.
A massive search involving hundreds of volunteers and police was launched to find Kalia. Her body was discovered with multiple skull fractures and injuries.
And what was that cause of death?
The cause of death was blunt impact injuries of the head.
And what was the manner of death?
The manner of death was certified as homicide. Now the only open wound that she had was this cut that we looked at on the right cheek, and then she had the open wounds and cuts in her mouth as well. Those obviously may cause a little bit of blood, but from the extensive head trauma with the skull fractures, there's really no blood coming out of her scalp because it's closed.
McNabb was arrested and sent to court. He maintained his innocence throughout the investigation.
Whatever happened to her, wherever she's at, wherever she was, I didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing else. All I know is that I killed my little girl.
4 days before Kalia's death, authorities received a 911 call from Courtney Bell's dad.
Right now, you have the baby right now?
I have the 2-week-old baby sitting on my kitchen table. The way I feel about it, they abandoned them youngins yesterday.
Bell's cousin told the court that both his sister and McNabb were high on meth the night before Kalia disappeared.
What did you do? What you got down there?
Oh, we all smoked a bowl. We smoked meth.
Bell told investigators that she confronted McNabb about their daughter.
As a mama, I just have to ask you this. Did you do this? Did something happen to her and you're trying to cover this up? Did you do it? And we promised you.
When Kalia was discovered the next day, Bell said McNabb started acting crazy and jumped out of their car.
But when I said they found her, he started acting crazy. I'm like, he was going to jail and then I think he did this. I'm like, how you she's not still alive? I need to. Did you ask him to do that?
McNabb was found guilty of all charges by the jury. He pleaded his innocence one last time before being sentenced.
I'm innocent. I didn't do it.
Okay.
I've maintained that the whole time. Just because somebody has domestic abuse issues with their spouse doesn't mean that they would put their hands on their kids because there was no evidence whatsoever that proved anything about me putting my hands on my kids. I've never done it. I never would.
In a hilarious turn of events, the judge decided to play a trick on McNabb.
You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
If you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay. On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. Do you understand each of your sentences?
Yes, sir.
He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, plus 10 years. Christopher McNabb was sent to prison for a sentence of his choosing. But what happens when you have to call for a higher power in court? Like in the case of Damon Kemp, a double murder suspect in Florida.
God! 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 God!
Reports suggest that on the night of December 7th, 2018, Kemp shot and killed Trey Ingram and Jordan Payton, both 19, at an apartment in Daytona Beach, where eyewitnesses informed the authorities.
Very loud pops, just bang, bang, bang.
As he was being produced in the courtroom, bound to a wheelchair, Kemp snapped.
God! 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 God!
Kemp had a confused expression throughout the hearing.
I do believe that there is probable cause for the arrest. And under these circumstances, I am not able to grant you bond or any form of pretrial release. So you're to be held at the Volusia County Jail, and you will be brought before the felony division judge at the next date on her or his calendar. All right?
And his face turned frightening with each passing minute. Kemp was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms in prison. Damon Kemp's crazy expressions were truly a most viewed courtroom moment. But how does it compare to a daring drug-fueled escape attempt from court? Like in the case of Daniel Nicholson, who was charged with carrying an offensive weapon and possessing a prohibited weapon in Adelaide, Australia. Nicholson had a lengthy criminal history and was on bail, so the judge decided to revoke his bail.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No, you can stop.
Nicholson protested in disbelief, but the judge refused to listen to him.
What's going on, Pat? Take a seat. Take a seat.
Miss, please, miss.
Please, miss. I'll tell you what please, miss
No.
That's when Nicholson, who was high on drugs, did something unexpected.
I revoke bail.
Officers eventually restrained him with cuffs. Later, Nicholson pleaded guilty to the incident, saying he freaked out due to long-standing issues with illicit drug use. Nicholson's daring attempt to escape was truly a shocking courtroom moment. But how does it compare to twerking in front of a judge? Like in the case of Calvin Lloyd Griffith, a suspect in grand theft auto in Miami. As per reports, 30-year-old Griffith broke into a local school and stole an employee's car. He was arrested and charged with grand theft, burglary, and trespassing.
Mr. Griffin is charged with burglary, petty theft, grand theft of a vehicle, and trespass.
Griffith appeared in bond court before Miami-Dade Judge Catherine Pooler. Griffith, already on probation, was talking over everyone, so court officials cut his mic out.
He's on probation.
He's out on probation, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'm on probation. I'm on paper.
Okay.
Office be in here anyway because I smoke weed and cocaine. So the office.
As Judge Pooler looked over the paperwork, Griffith continued to try to get the attention of the judge. When that didn't work, Griffith took a different approach. No one expected what happened next. A less than impressed Judge Pooler set Griffith's bond at $18,500. He was also ordered to stay away from Miami Edison Senior High.
And there's a stay-away order from Miami Edison Senior High. If you should get out, do not go back there. You're not a student anymore. Okay? Thank you for coming in.
Griffith's dancing antics were truly a viral courtroom moment. But how does it compare to the chaos when two convicts collapse in court simultaneously? Like in the case of Shanita Latrice Cunningham and Erica Mae Butts, both murder suspects in South Carolina.
The court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of time.
According to reports, Cunningham and her girlfriend Butts beat to death 3-year-old Serenity Richardson. Butts, Serenity's godmother, was babysitting her at her home in Somerville. Butts said that she whipped Serenity with a belt because she urinated on the floor. Serenity suffered from more than 250 injuries, including a lacerated liver, broken ribs, and a fractured skull. She died from blunt force trauma to the head. During the trial, Judge Deidre Richardson said nothing had ever affected her as strongly as the photos of the little girl's battered body.
The severity of the blow to that child's leg, and to say that you did not recognize what had been done, to ignore what must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child on a daily basis, is more than disconcerting to this court.
Butts and Cunningham were found guilty of homicide by child abuse and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
As such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life.
After hearing the verdict, both the defendants did something astonishing. As the screams of their family members pierced the courtroom, both the two women started hyperventilating and had to be restrained and wheeled out of the courtroom. Butts and Cunningham's bizarre and chaotic collapse in court was truly a shocking courtroom moment. But how does it compare to throwing a table at a judge? Like in the case of Jaleel Hoskins, a suspect for murdering his girlfriend in Michigan.
Your Honor.
According to reports, on March 19, 2013, Hoskins strangled Latrice Mays to death in his apartment. Just hours prior, police responded to a 911 call from Mays regarding domestic abuse at the hands of Hoskins.
Neither one of you have any injuries. So at this point, I know the two of you aren't getting along this morning, but I don't have enough to arrest either one of you. But I can tell you guys aren't getting along. Now, certainly I can't make you leave, can't make him leave. If you have somewhere you can go, maybe I can give you a ride there.
Officers offered to take Mays somewhere safe. Mays declined that ride. She was never seen again. Hoskins initially maintained innocence.
Did you kill Latrice Mays?
No, I did not.
However, he later confessed to his cousin, Gregory Shanklin, who testified in court.
He told me about doing it.
Doing what?
Killing her. I guess he choked her or something.
Did you say he choked her?
Yes.
Another eyewitness said he saw Hoskins disposing of Mays' body in a dumpster.
If he said, I did her, I need some help, I can't carry her by myself.
Hoskins pleaded guilty to second-degree murder to avoid a first-degree murder charge, much to the relief of Mays' family members.
It's just a relief to know that, it's all said and done.
and that he finally admitted to his guilt of choking her and putting her body in a dumpster and disposal.
During his sentencing, Mays's mother and aunt addressed Hoskins.
You tell me how I explain what happened to their mom.
First of all, I want you to stand there and look at me and quit standing there looking at the ceiling like a little coward. You know, I'm going to face you and I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel.
Hoskins was sentenced to 50 to 100 years in prison for the murder and 12 to 50 years for the evidence tampering. However, what followed was utter pandemonium.
You have 42 days to appeal. You are remanded to the custody of the Department of Corrections for service of this sentence. Thank you. Your Honor.
I love you, Mom.
As Hoskins was escorted out of the courtroom, a brawl broke out between the families of the victim and the defendant. While Jaleel Hoskins' table toss towards a judge is truly a shocking courtroom moment, what happens when a judge recognizes the defendant? Like in the case of Arthur Booth, who was in court for burglary charges. Today, Judge Mindy Glazer was overseeing bond hearings, which included Booth's case.
Hi, Mr. Booth. How are you?
How you doing, ma'am? Okay, ma'am.
49-year-old Booth was a career criminal.
You have actually 3 arrest affidavits: reckless driving, damage to property, leaving the scene of a crash with serious injury.
With no serious injury.
I'm sorry, no serious injury.
Okay.
Judge Glazer explained the conditions of his bond.
The bond on count 1 is $7,500.
But then she noticed something familiar with Booth.
Okay, Mr. Booth, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him, all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry to
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Booth, I hope you're able to change your ways. Good luck to you.
Oh my goodness.
What's sad is how old we've become.
Oh my goodness.
Good luck to you, sir. I hope you're able to come out of this okay and just lead a lawful life.
Booth was sent to prison for 10 months. When he was released, his family members waited for him, and so did Judge Glazer.
Booth was released from jail on Tuesday after serving 10 months. His family was there to greet him, and so was Judge Glazer.
You got to take care of your family, try and get a job, stay clean. You're going to do something good for somebody else. That's what you got to do. This is a group effort to see you succeed. Don't let us down.
I won't. I promise not to.
Arthur Booth's reunion with Judge Mindy Glazer was a heartwarming courtroom moment. But how does it compare to killing a friend in the pretense of sneaking out? Like in the case of Aiden Fucci, a murder suspect in Florida. As per reports, Fucci stabbed and killed his 13-year-old classmate Tristan Bailey in a wooded area near their homes in Bailey, Florida. CCTV footage showed that Tristan was last seen with Fucci on the night of her murder.
And it's going to show the 2 subjects walking from the top left to the top right, and they're traveling in a direction east towards the cul-de-sac of Saddlestone.
Later that night, Fucci was caught on camera running away from the area where he and Tristan had gone a few hours ago.
You can see that he's carrying something in his hands.
Tristan was reported missing by her family, and hours later, her body was discovered with 114 stab wounds. Fucci was arrested in relation to the then missing case of Tristan. He posted on Snapchat while sitting in the back of the cop car. He even took a video on his phone.
We're having fun in a f***ing cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys? Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
In custody, Fucci was grilled by his parents.
The Snapchat that you did was not very smart.
Now we have people want to burn our house down, our cars down. Because of that Snapchat thing you did. It's all over, you're all over the internet and everywhere. Social media.
It's all social media. You'll probably come stay with me after we get done with this. Just for your well, safe being.
This is serious, man.
It's very serious.
This is no joke. This is your whole life. Your whole life.
And hers.
And ours. And your brothers and sisters. And don't forget they can't go to school tomorrow. Because the kids will hurt them.
Fuchi's mother was caught on camera trying to clean the blood out of the jeans he was wearing during the murder. She was later charged with tampering with evidence. Fuchi was charged with first-degree murder. Later in a court appearance, Fuchi seemed confused and disoriented.
What's going on? I don't want to hear you demons. I don't want to hear you demons take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away. I don't let you demons steal my soul.
Fuchi pleaded guilty to all charges and apologized to the victim's family.
I just want to say I plead not guilty. And I'm sorry for the Bailey family and my family.
Tristan's sister appeared in court and made a powerful victim impact statement.
This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds that my sister had to endure. Did she see you coming at her with the knife, or did you stab her while she wasn't paying attention? Did you hear her lungs gargling with blood, or did you see it in her face when she realized she could no longer breathe due to her collapsed lungs? What were her last words? Did you stay to watch her die, or did you leave her there in agonizing pain as you ran away? How long did she suffer? Did you watch the life leave her eyes? Aiden Fucci didn't just take Tristan's life that day. He took everything from us.
Tristan's mother said that she would never forgive Fucci.
Aiden Fucci, your deplorable actions are unforgivable, and I will pray every day that you stay in prison for the rest of your life and never be able to harm anyone else in this world again.
During the verdict, the judge said that this was the most shocking case of his career.
I would submit that this case is probably the most difficult and shocking case that this county in St. Johns County has dealt with. This case is one of only a very small few that had this level and this type of impact on the community.
He said that Tristan was conscious and aware during her attack. The judge added that the crime was highly premeditated and that Fucci was always going to kill someone.
114 stab wounds, 49 defensive wounds, 35 wounds to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulder, and 6 fatal wounds. The 49 defensive wounds indicate that Tristan Bailey was conscious, that she was aware, and that she was doing everything she could to fend off this attack. She suffered a painful, horrifying death from someone that she trusted. Based on the prior statements that he made to his girlfriend and his friend, he indicated that he was going to kill someone. At which point he determined that it was going to be Tristan Bailey, I don't know. But there was going to be a victim.
The judge also said that this crime had no reason. He added that Fucci killed Tristan only to satisfy his desire to see what it was like to kill someone.
There was no purpose. It was done for no other reason than to satisfy this defendant's internal desire to feel what it was like to kill someone.
Fucci was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was just 14 years old.
Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison.
While Aiden Fucci was sent to life in prison for brutally murdering his friend, how does it compare to a crooked cop getting caught? Like in the case of Zachary Wester, who was charged with racketeering and false imprisonment in Florida. As per reports, the 28-year-old former sheriff's deputy was accused of planting drugs on unsuspecting motorists during traffic stops.
That was a slick move, man. Very slick.
Ain't mine, man.
Go ahead and put your hands
No,
on
hell no, that ain't mine.
At this point, you are detained, okay?
I don't do anything. I don't mess with that stuff.
The drivers denied knowledge of the drugs, but were arrested anyway.
The syringe is actually in like a plastic, larger baggie with a plastic container with a substance in it that appears to be an illegal narcotic. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Some of Wester's victims had other prior offenses, which made the alleged possession charges even more serious.
Have you ever seen this before?
No. No, what is that?
Look, man, you're going to go to jail today for possession of methamphetamine, okay? It was in your vehicle right there at the center console.
Come on, man. Please.
I don't have much discretion with a felony charge, buddy. I don't have much discretion with that, man.
Man, dude, man, my mom was going to work. Oh, man, dude, I'm serious, dude. Anything. What you want me to do, man?
And for the poor souls who resisted and protested innocence, Wester used his taser on them.
You didn't have any weapons or anything you was trying to hide back there?
No. This is okay. To see me, man.
I can get invasive. I'm going to send you on y'all's way here in just a minute if he didn't have anything. That was a slick move, man. Very slick move.
That ain't mine, man.
Go ahead and put your hands
no,
on
hell no, that ain't mine.
Do not do this.
That ain't mine. Okay. All right. That ain't mine, man. What you talking about? What are you doing, man?
After a while, the arrests caused suspicion internally.
Now, shortly after the last victim in this case was arrested, a lieutenant at the Jackson County Sheriff's Office named Mike Hodges began what's called an internal affairs investigation into the defendant's use of his body cameras.
Wester was suspended from the sheriff's department.
And by August 1st, he made the recommendation that the defendant be suspended pending the outcome of the investigation.
The case went to trial, where Wester pleaded not guilty to all charges.
This is a case about an abuse of an incredible power. The defendant used his position as a deputy sheriff to make traffic stops on 12 members of this community and plant methamphetamine in their cars, methamphetamine and paraphernalia. He turned what should be a law enforcement agency, and is, into something for his own use that was criminal.
Some of Wester's body cam footage was found mysteriously deleted or unusable.
Why in the world would that have been deleted? I wish I knew that answer.
However, in one of Wester's body cam footage, the prosecutor found something suspicious.
Why in the world does the defendant have palmed in his hand, which is clasped like this, not like this, not like this, but like this, a plastic baggie? Why in the world does he have that there? I would submit that this is objective evidence where you see him planting drugs in the moment. You see something in his hand that has no reason, no logical reason, given this stop and what we know about it, for it to be there. This is him planting evidence, and you see it.
Wester's victims testified in court.
And I knew my truck was clean. I knew it was.
The white small plastic baggie that was in that spoon that the deputy just showed you on this video. Had you ever seen that before?
No, sir.
Was that in your car?
No, sir.
He said that he smelled marijuana emitting from the vehicle.
Had you been smoking marijuana in the vehicle?
No, sir, absolutely not.
What about Miss Smith?
Absolutely not.
The only thing I really saw was the fact that he kept going back into the car like several times over and over and over again. Because he'd come back, he'd talk to me, he'd go back to the car, he'd come back to me, he'd go back to the car.
Curiously, Wester's body cam was always well placed to miss the exact moment when he found the drugs. In a split decision, the jury found Wester guilty of 19 of the 67 charges.
Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged. Count 2, not guilty. Count 3, not guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 7, guilty of official misconduct related to Teresa Odom as charged.
Wester was sentenced to 12 years in prison.
It's the intention of the court that you were sentenced to serve a total of 12 years, 6 months, and 8 days in the Florida Department of Corrections.
While Zachary Wester will spend significant time in prison for being a crooked cop, what happens when you attack your own defense counsel in court? Like in the case of Christopher Teal, a homeless person charged with sexual assault in Seattle, Washington. Reports suggest that Teal sexually assaulted a woman at a Seattle car dealership in 2018. Teal was arrested and charged with first-degree sexual assault and unlawful imprisonment. Later, Teal appeared in court for a competency hearing,
This is State of Washington versus Christopher Teal, cause number 181008391, Seattle designation.
He was being represented by a court-appointed lawyer, Reed Birkland. When his handcuffs were removed, Teal seemed to be amused and raised his arm towards Birkland before a court officer stopped him.
Mr. Teal's present. He's in custody. He's represented by counsel, Mr. Birkland.
Then suddenly, without provocation, Teal snapped.
Standing from his counsel, who I'll defer to in a moment, that they are now stipulating that Mr. Teal...
It took 4 court officers to subdue Teal. They put a spit mask over his head before removing him from the court. Birkland was unhurt in the incident. Barring his pride, he promptly withdrew from the case.
Regarding the Christopher Teal matter.
No.
Okay. I have a question, though. Are you running a diminished capacity or insanity or anything of that nature?
I don't have anything to talk about.
2 weeks later, Teal returned to the courtroom. However, his biggest concern was how his hair looked in this mugshot.
I'd like to know where the they got that photo of me with my short hair. Because that was on Facebook, and I don't have a Facebook.
All right.
So you're on the... legitimate question. Like, do they have access to Google?
Teal was sentenced to 102 months to life in prison. While Christopher Teal was sent to jail for his violent crimes, how does it compare to killing your coworker? Like in the case of Kimberly Kessler, a murder suspect in Florida.
Jordan Beard is Jolia's cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
On May 12, 2018, Kessler stabbed and killed her coworker Jolene Cummings with a pair of scissors inside Tangle's hair salon in Fernandina Beach, Florida. According to reports, Kessler drove Cummings' car to a parking lot and abandoned it. She also disposed of Cummings' body in a dumpster, which was never recovered. Kessler evaded the police by changing her identity, but was eventually arrested. Kessler's trial proceedings were marred with regular outbursts and insults. She even accused her lawyer of being related to the victim.
Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolia's cousin.
Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin.
Kessler also laid accusations towards the judge.
Sure, I can sit up here and I'm going to say what I want, when I want, how I want, which you silenced me for years. You have silenced me for years. So let everyone know this is just the tip of the iceberg. Jordan Beard, public defender, is Jolene Cummings' cousin. Along with his brother Josh, yeah. You swept it under the rug for 3.5 years, along with her father, her stepdad, who runs the jail, who recently retired. He still comes in.
Correctional officers revealed Kessler's troublesome behaviors in custody.
Used all 3 of the meals offered to her, began to throw urine and feces under the cell door.
She began to remove feces from styrofoam trays in the back of her cell and smear it on herself on the walls. She began to throw feces at Debbie Smith, Miller, and I.
Cummings' mother, Ann Johnson, believed Kessler was trying to manipulate the court.
She will be found competent. I arrest you. She'll be found competent. You got to believe in the judicial system. You know, she may be intelligent. You got a higher power. We got people that are fighting and working very diligently for this case.
She was eventually found competent to stand trial. In her victim impact statement, Ann became emotional, describing what the past years have been like without her daughter.
We suffered the greatest nightmare of all. The murder of a beautiful soul that was taken from us. The only thing that keeps us together is faith.
Nassau County Sheriff said that he believed this wasn't Kessler's first murder.
I don't for one second believe that Kimberly Kessler, or whatever name she's going by today, I don't believe this is her first murder. I don't at all. She's evil. She's evil in the flesh. And as soon as she's sentenced, I want her behind out of our jail because we are fed up with her crap.
Kassler declined to be present in the courtroom during her verdict.
Do you want to go back downstairs?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. You take her back.
She was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This court will adjudicate Kimberly Kessler, the defendant, also known as Jennifer Marie Cybert, guilty, sentence her to life in prison without any possibility of release or parole.
In an interview, Kassler's ex-husband described her as a crazy woman who loved to play mind games.
I heard something about she had stabbed you with some scissors. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, she was crazy. I can tell you that. She was, I know it's a crazy woman, but she was out there. She had mind games.
Kassler's outbursts were truly viral courtroom moments. But how does it compare to a serial killer grinning at the victim's father in court? Like in the case of Michael Madison, a serial killer and sex offender from East Cleveland, Ohio. As per reports, Madison killed 3 women and dumped their bodies in plastic bags near his apartment.
Police and EMS responded and broke into a garage where we discovered the remains of a victim. During that additional canvass, 2 additional victims were discovered.
There was evidence of decomposition fluid in several parts of the apartment building. There were maggots that were attached to the decomposition fluid.
Madison was arrested, and his bond was set at a whopping $6 million.
At this time, the bond that's going to be set will be $1 million per count. So there are 6 counts, 6 charges, so your bond is going to be $6 million. You understand that?
During his sentencing, Van Terry, a victim's father, took to the stand to give his statement.
Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown. He's touched our families, taken my child.
He then looked straight at Madison, who grinned at him off camera. Suddenly, Terry exploded. Terry was released without charges. A short while later, Judge Nancy McDonnell addressed the court.
I am struck by the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not one, but 3 human beings. It is incomprehensible. You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Shealy, Angela Deskins, and Sherelda Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears. You wrapped them in multiple layers of trash bags, and you discarded them.
Michael Madison was sentenced to death.
Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant, Michael Madison, on counts 1, 4, and 7.